Welcome to our October 2018 meeting for the Google Educators Group of Ohio. This is a monthly meeting where we take a look at everything new in G Suite from the last month, share Google tips and tricks, and answer questions related to using Google tools in school. My name is Eric Curts, and I'm a tech integration specialist here at the Stark Portage Area Computer Consortium, or SPARC for short. We're an information technology center serving schools in Northeast Ohio. However, this meeting is open to anyone in Ohio or outside of Ohio. As long as you've got an interest in using Google tools in schools, you are welcome to join us. Thanks for being here. All of the resources for today's meeting can be found in our Google Docs editable agenda, which you can locate on our GEG Ohio website. If you're not there already in the document, the GEG Ohio website is bit.ly/GEG Ohio. And once you get there on the website, you can go to the monthly meetings link. And from the monthly meetings link, you'll find a list of all of the upcoming meetings and the links there for the video, which you're obviously watching right now, but also a link to the agenda document is there as well. So that will get you into our Google Doc agenda for today. This agenda is editable, so please feel free to add your own comments, questions, resources, links, and such. There's several sections in here that you can add some info into, such as the upcoming events. If you know a conference or a webinar or something that I did not include in this list, please feel free to do that. We've also got a section for questions and answers. If you got something to ask the group, that would be a great place to throw that. And there's also a show and tell section where you can just share some of the latest and greatest cool things that you're doing in your school, or a neat tool you've come across recently, and would appreciate you throwing that in there as well. In addition to typing directly in the document, you can also leave comments as well. Feel free to highlight some text and hit the little comment button, and feel free to leave comments on the side. And I will be keeping an eye on the YouTube chat. So if you're in watching this live and you want to throw some things in the chat as well, that is fine as well. In the future, rather than just watching the live video, if you would like to actually be in the Hangout with me to share a resource and take part in the discussion, I would love to have you do so. Just send me an email, ericcurts@gmail.com, or you can send it to my Spark address as well. Either way is fine, and just let me know that you'd like to be in the Hangout. You can still do that today as well. If sometime during the meeting you've got something you'd like to share live, just let me know, and I will send you an invite to pull you into the Hangout as well. All right. Well, with that said, let's go ahead and jump into the agenda and get our meeting started. Fantastic. All right. So like I said, this agenda is broken up into a couple of different parts. First thing, we've done the little welcomes and intros, so that's awesome. I want to touch a little bit on some important links, and really the only thing I'm going to draw your attention to in this section is the sign-in form. We do have a very short, quick little Google sign-in form here that will allow you to let us know you watched this meeting today, and it could either be live or later. If you're watching the recording, that's totally fine. That counts. That's part of being the meeting too. What I do with this, the information you submit here, it allows me to generate a certificate of attendance for you, and I will email those out sometime after the meeting. That way, if you're needing to collect some contact hours, you can turn those into your professional development committee for that. And then I also take the number of folks who attend, and I do share that with Google. They ask us to report on our monthly meetings as to how many people attended, and that's why we ask questions like, was this your first time attending? That's stuff that Google is interested in knowing about. So thanks for taking a minute to fill that form out. I appreciate that. That is very, very helpful. Next up, we have a section on updates, as far as the updates on how the community is growing. And in addition to the website, the regular GEG Ohio website, we also have an online forum for people to be able to ask questions in between the meetings. And there's a link to that right here, and that will take you out to the Google Plus community for GEG Ohio. At the moment, we are up to 3,780 members, which is fantastic. That is great. What you'll see here, like I said, again, it's an online forum where you can share questions, comments, resources. If there's some upcoming training event that you want to let people know about, if you've got a question, this is a great place to ask it so other people can see your question and share some resources with you. Or if you just come across something neat and new and you want to share it, or you've written a blog post on some Google tools, this is a great place to come and connect with other educators all around Ohio and outside of Ohio as well. Again, anybody is certainly welcome to join. All right. Next up in our agenda, we do have a list of some upcoming events. Now, although we keep saying this is certainly open to anybody outside of Ohio, these events here probably are a little bit more Ohio specific. So if you're not from this area, these may not apply as much to you, but I still want to share these so that everybody is aware of some things that are coming up. So very soon, looks like this Friday, we're just about there, is the Learn 21 conference down in Columbus. If you were not aware of that, you can get all the details at learn21.org/conference. Next up, we do have some more of those applied digital skills training events coming up. I had an opportunity to do a few of them earlier in the fall, and so we're doing a second round of these applied digital skills trainings. This list here has the registration form for each one of these, and there's a Google Doc flyer that will give you all the details. Real quick, just to give you the elevator pitch on this, Applied Digital Skills is Google's totally free curriculum for middle school, high school, and adult learners that covers life skills, job skills, tech skills. They've got over 120 hours of content in it, and it's totally free. And what they're asking is that we host some of these trainings to spread the word and let people know about this great curriculum and give people a chance to dive into it and learn how it works. So in the month of October, we do have several coming up here around the state. We've got 2 of them in the Akron area. We have one in the Columbus area at Westerville City Schools, the Mansfield area at NCOCC, Cincinnati down in Sewolka, and the Cleveland area at North. So each of these are totally free of charge. There's no cost for any of these. And you can check out and see if there's one in your neck of the woods. There's still plenty of time to register. I think the only one that filled up was the Sewolka one. That one now has a wait list. So you could still register, but you'll be on a wait list, and we'll check and see if we get some folks that end up needing to cancel. We can open up some more spots to get some more people into the one down in the Cincinnati area. But I believe all the rest of them still have some breathing room that we could get a few more people in those. So please do register or share this with folks that you're aware might benefit from this. I'd say it'd be great for middle school teachers, high school teachers, curriculum directors, tech folks, anybody who might be involved in getting this back to your school districts and sharing this with the students so they can take advantage of that great resource. So those are coming up throughout November. Couple others a little bit further out, but keep on your radar. OETC, the Ohio EdTech Conference, February 12th through 14th. Neotech, which is one of our local conferences. Typically, it's been in Kent in the past. They're moving up to the Cleveland Convention Center this year and doing a 2-day conference. So excited to see how that develops. Just found out about EdCamp Cleveland coming up on April 13th in North Ridgeville. There's some info on there for you to dive into. And the iTip Ohio Summit featuring Google. That is definitely an awesome conference that we try to attend every year. This year it is up at Sandusky. It bounces back and forth between Columbus and Sandusky. This year it's up in Sandusky. The key thing I want to let you know is call for proposals is open now. So it does close January 14th. So you got a couple of months here, but just don't want anybody to miss the opportunity to share the awesome things happening in your schools. So head over to the iTip site, and from there you can get to their proposal form. And that would be fantastic. Awesome. Oh, and I see in the chat, Linda said she has signed up for one of the applied digital skills trainings, but not one of them in Ohio, one of them in Texas. That is right, Linda. I will be coming down to San Antonio to do one of these trainings as well. And so I look forward to seeing you there, Linda. Thanks for throwing that in the chat. Awesome. All right. And I don't see anybody has added anything else to there. So at the moment, that's what I'm aware of as far as upcoming events. Again, if you know of something I didn't put on here, please add it in. If it's a conference or a webinar or some event, just go ahead and type that in there, and that would benefit everybody. All right, let's keep on moving. So the next part of our meeting, usually we take some time and talk about what is new in G Suite from the last month. So from one meeting to the next, I try to keep track of the things that Google announces, the things that come out, and I collect them in this document throughout the month. Now, there's a lot of stuff there. We're not going to go through every one of those. Some of them are, more impactful than others, but I still tried to just copy and paste into here anything that I came across throughout the month. So if there's something I don't go over, you've got the links here. Feel free just to click on the resource link and investigate those on your own. What I've done is for myself, I've noted a couple on my document here that I'm going to take some time and draw some attention to a few of them that really jumped out at me. So let's see. Let's start with this second one down here about Google updating and clarifying the Chrome sign-in and sync. I want to explain what that's all about. There's a blog post here you can go and check out and get all the details on it. But here's basically what it comes down to is there's sometimes been some confusion from folks on whether or not you're signed into just your Google account or if you're also signed into Chrome, the browser, and if you're syncing your preferences and bookmarks and so forth. And I think I totally understand how that can happen. People are like, well, hey, I opened up Chrome, I signed into Gmail, I'm signed in, right? Oh, maybe, maybe not. So what you can do is you can open up like Google Drive or Gmail and you can sign into your Google account on that page. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're also signed into the browser. So if you come up here in the top right-hand corner of Chrome and you see, for example, here's my face here. I am signed in to my Spark account there, but above there, you'll also see a little teeny one up here as well. And if I click on that one, it actually says syncing to eric.kurtz@apps.spark.org. So here's the idea. You can sign into your Gmail or into Google Drive, and then you can also sign into the Chrome browser. Now, when you sign into the Chrome browser, what that does is it gives you extra options such as syncing all of your resources like your bookmarks and your extensions and so forth. And I think sometimes people just got a little confused saying, well, I thought I was signed in, but nothing was syncing. I made a bookmark at school. Then when I came home, it wasn't showing up on my home computer. And so what Google has done now is if you come up and click on your teeny little avatar up there in the top right, it'll tell you right away without even having to wonder, is it syncing? Are you signed into the browser as well? And then you can, of course, click on that and it will pop open and let you know that, yes, you are signed in as whatever that account is and that it is syncing and then what is being synced. And if you say, well, actually, I don't want to sync everything. I just, maybe I don't want to sync, my history or I don't want to sync my passwords. You can one by one turn those things on or off. So they're just trying to be a little bit more transparent with that so that folks aren't as confused. I think it's great to be signed in to the browser as well as your account because then again, that's the whole point. It does sync everything. So it doesn't matter what computer I'm on. If I'm signed into the browser, all of my bookmarks follow me, all of my passwords follow me, all of my Chrome extensions follow me, and it just makes it so much easier. So I think that was a valuable update from Google to just make it a little bit easier for people to be aware of how they're signed in and what is actually syncing. All right, let's keep on going. Another one that jumped out at me, at least, was an update to YouTube. YouTube has now launched the ability to do picture-in-picture when you're browsing on the web. Let me show you real quick what I mean by that. We'll just open up YouTube real quick for a moment here, and we'll just grab some random video on here. Really doesn't matter what. Here's one on 10 reasons to buy a Chromebook. We'll just open that up for a second. And then what you'll notice, got to get past the little ad there. We'll skip the ad. All right, so what you're going to notice is when you open up a video now on the web and you look down in the bottom right-hand corner, there's, buttons like there's always been. The closed caption button is down there and the little settings button to change the speed, all of those sort of things. That's not changed. But what's happened is now there's this itty bitty other new button here called the the mini player button. And the mini player button looks like a square, like a rectangle with a teeny little rectangle inside of it. That's the picture-in-picture button. So if you're on the web and you're watching a YouTube video, you can now go down to the bottom corner, click on that, it'll move that video down here into picture-in-picture, and you can just go ahead and keep on browsing on YouTube and checking out other things while this plays down in the bottom corner. And then if you need to bring it back up full, you just go ahead and click on it again, and boom, it takes it right back up to where it was before. So I thought that was a pretty neat way to, again, make your browsing a little bit more efficient if you're watching videos, but want to be able to also jump back over to YouTube without opening up another browser and jumping back and forth and so forth. So I just wanted to highlight that one. Thought that was pretty handy. All right, next up, another one that caught my attention were a couple of classroom updates. So we know we've got this big update that came out this summer where a lot of new features rolled out for Google Classroom. Well, when that happened, we lost a couple of things in the process, and one was the to-do list. So it used to be there was an easy way as a teacher to click on this to-do list, and it would show you all of the assignments you got out and how many students have turned them in, if they haven't turned them in, which ones you're waiting for. And also it gave you an option to be able to kind of check these things off and say, I'm done with that one, I've taken care of that. Well, that disappeared when we got the big update this summer on all of the new classroom features, and that has been added back. So let me grab Classroom and pull it over here and show you what I mean. So if you're inside of Google Classroom and you go up to the menu button in the very, very top left-hand corner, there is now a to-do list option that used to be there, and it's back now. We have it again. So again, from the menu in the top left, if you go down to the to-do list, you'll now see all of your assignments. Now, these aren't actually real assignments. These are from trainings that I've done. So from lots of different trainings, these are the assignments I created as part of those, but you still get the idea here. What would happen is if these were, real assignments, you'd see all of your different math or science or language arts assignments here. And then for each one of them, it'll show you, how many people have turned in, how many people have you graded, how many people are you still waiting to get this back from. And it allows you to see anything that you need to take care of. And then let's say you've completed whatever the assignment is, you've graded everybody, you've returned everything to them, and that one's done. Well, now you can click the little three dots and just say, hey, let's mark that as reviewed. I've done that one. I've taken care of it. And once you do, it disappears from the to review tab and it moves over to the reviewed tab. So it's just a nice way for you to be able to go through and cross off all the assignments so that you know which ones are done and which ones you still need to do some grading on. And it's awesome that we have that feature back in Classroom. A lot of folks were missing that when we got our updates this summer. Speaking of Classroom, here's another one that was a really cool one that kind of snuck under the radar. But a few people came across it and found out about it. And this only works on the mobile app. So this is not one that I can show you here in the browser. So you'll need to grab your phone or a tablet or, if you're using a Chromebook with Android apps, that would work as well. It just needs to be the mobile version of Classroom. And what you have now is the ability to have a random name picker right there in Google Classroom. So I came across this blog post that was sharing it. And basically the way it works is if you're in the mobile version of Classroom, when you open up a class, there's this new button up here in the top right corner, a little 3 square button. And when you click on that little button, or a 4 square button, when you click on that little button there, what it does is it opens up the student selector. And what that will do is it will allow you to click on there and it will randomly bring up one of your students from class. So in this example, the person sharing this has 36 students in that class. And as they click, it will bring up a random student, and then they just keep hitting next and it'll bring up another student, and it won't repeat. It'll go through and work through all 36 or whatever the case might be, unless you hit reset, and then it will start over again. So pretty nifty if you've got your phone with you or a tablet and you just need a quick way to be able to call on students and kind of work through some random student selections. This is another way to do it. Now there's a lot of options for them. This is obviously not the only way to do something like this. The Flippity Google Sheets template has a random name picker, and I know there's lots of other extensions and tools and things that do that. Just one more to add to your list. It's very convenient if you're already using Classroom. If you've got the Classroom mobile app, nice to have that. There are some things, we've talked about this in the past, there are some things that make the mobile version of Classroom different than the web version. This is just one more thing to add to that list. Other things are the ability, for example, to to use your camera to take pictures and submit them through Classroom and to record videos. Also, the mobile version gives you the ability to write on top of Google Documents and PDFs to be able to annotate on them. I do have a whole webinar we did in the past where I talked about those. If that is something you're interested in, you can check that on my Control-Alt-Achieve site and dig into that. If you're not sure where to find it, just let me know. I'll be happy to share that over. But that's one more new thing to add to the mobile version of Classroom that makes it a little bit different from the web version. Pretty neat. All right, let's keep on going. Another one, oh, this one for sure. Let's talk about this one. Google Slides has added an option for real-time closed captioning during a presentation. So the way this one works, and I'll demonstrate this for you, I'll bring up a slideshow and take it for a spin. But what Google has done is now when you go to run a slideshow, if you want, you can turn on live closed captioning. And so basically, as you're talking while you're doing your presentation, it's actually going to put your words on the screen. So let me grab a slideshow. So this is a recent slideshow I did on using Tour Creator. So let's say I have this slideshow and I want to present this. And I go up and click on the regular present button like normal up here in the top right corner. And so now the slideshow is presenting. Now I can, of course, just, click through the slideshow like normal, blah, 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 all that's normal. Well, what I can do now is if I take my mouse and I go down to the bottom left-hand corner, you get that normal bar that pops up that has, the buttons to move forward and backward and all the other things like the Q&A button and the speaker notes and the pointer. If you never use the pointer, that's cool. It gives you like that little laser pointer you can move around on there. Well, now they've added something new. They've added a captions button here. So once you're running your slideshow, once you're presenting it, if you come down here to the bottom left and click on captions, it's now listening for whatever I say. And as I speak, you can see at the bottom of the screen, it is now putting my words live. That's pretty awesome. So if I'm giving a presentation and somebody has a difficult time being able to hear what I'm saying, this gives them another option to be able to see that up on the screen. And I know some people have mentioned this could be a really neat way to also make like a screencastify screen recording of your slideshow with built-in closed captions. What you could do is fire up Screencastify, tell it to record the screen, start the slideshow, turn on the closed captioning, and speak clearly. Obviously, you have to be careful. If I speak too quickly or if I don't enunciate well, it might not do a great job. Looks like it's doing a pretty decent job right now, though. And then when I'm done, I can just click the closed caption button again, and it turns that off. So we've had several people talk about how that would be awesome to do with a screen recording tool as well. That way, you've got a video of your slideshow with the closed captioning put in with it right away. Now, of course, if you do make a video and just upload it to YouTube, YouTube will also do that captioning for you. So if you put it on YouTube, that's an option to just allow the captioning to be done. This is just another way that this can be done. I think it's really neat how it does it live. So for a presentation, that would be really nice to have that up there on the screen. Cool. Judy had a question. Can you go back in and edit the text once it's recorded? If that question is, and I apologize, Judy, I didn't see your question till right now. If that question is referring to the closed captioning, no, it's not actually saving that text anywhere. It's really just ephemeral. It's just right now. While you're talking, it's going to show that closed captioning, and it's not really saving it anywhere. It doesn't go anywhere. So it's not like if you upload it to YouTube where it's going to allow you to have a caption, a set of captions as a text file that you can attach and go back in and edit and change. Not with this. And so I think that's why people were saying if you wanted to keep it at any length, you would have to do something like a screen recorder to record the screen and grab it. So as far as I know, there's nothing's being saved for that. It just is while you're speaking. But who knows? It's a brand new feature, and maybe that's something. If it's already doing that translation, that captioning, why not? Why not hang on to it? So maybe that's something that Google will make as an option, that it'll create text file or maybe append it to the speaker notes or something. I'm not sure. I think that would be really neat, though, if they did something like that. All right. So heads up on that. Next one that I wanted to take a moment to speak on really does affect us. This impacts the GEG Ohio group and a lot of folks, and that is Google is shutting down Google Plus for its non-enterprise users. All right, so it kind of doesn't come as a surprise, but it's something that's definitely going to have some impact on folks. And I've got a couple of blog posts here that talk about that. 9 to 5 Google did a nice job summarizing all of the details of that. And then Google also put out a blog post specifically on it. Now, just for what it's worth, a teeny bit of background on all of this. So Google Plus has been around for many, many, many years now. And it was designed to sort of be Google's answer to social media apps or sites like Facebook and Twitter and so forth. It never really took off the way they had hoped that it would. And so it's gone through a lot of changes over the years. When Google Plus first came out, it was a very robust product that had a ton of different pieces to it. And over the years, Google has spun off a lot of those pieces. So for example, you may know, but if not, Google Hangouts. Like what we're doing right now, we're in a Google Hangout. That used to be a part of Google Plus, and that was the only way you could do a Hangout was through Google Plus. Well, at some point they spun that off and Hangouts became its own thing. Google Photos was a part of Google Plus, and it got spun off to be its own thing. And there's been a lot of different things like that developed through Google Plus, but then became their own standalone thing. Right now, Google Plus, there's not a whole lot that is, separate from it now, other than basically it's just the posting platform, which, like our GEG Ohio community, that's part of Google Plus. So if I were to head back to our community here, this is a Google Plus community. And so right now, when it comes to Google Plus, this is pretty much what it is. It's a place where you can go, like Facebook or Twitter, to share a comment with the world, and you can do it inside of communities or you can do it in your public stream. That's pretty much what Google Plus has become, but that's valuable. That's really nice. I mean, I love the communities in Google Plus. They're very easy to use. They're nice and attractive. You can come in here and add pictures and links and polls and files, and it's just I think a really nice format to do an online discussion forum. Well, for a number of reasons. One being that there's not been a lot of adoption of Google Plus. It just, ended up not being something that competed very well with Facebook and Twitter, plus some security issues. And the blog post explains that there were some security issues they were dealing with. Google has decided that they are going to shut down Google Plus for consumers. So if you're using a Gmail account, so like my ericcurts@gmail.com account, those accounts are going to lose the Google Plus option. And Google Plus will now just be for businesses and enterprise and G Suite customers. So that, from what I understand, should still include education. So like my Spark account, my eric.curts@apps.spark.org, that's a G Suite account. From what I understand, and if anybody knows differently, please do chime in, because I think there's still a little confusion about how all this is going to pan out. But they said 10 months from now, I think they're giving a 10-month window. 10 months from now, they are going to shut down Google Plus for consumers. So at that point, here's basically what that means. That means sites like the GEG Ohio forum, the community, it'll still exist, but the only way to be a part of it, to actually join the community and post, sounds like you're gonna have to use a non-consumer account. Like you wouldn't be able to use your Gmail account. You'd have to use your school Google account. And that may sound fine. You may be like, well, no big deal. I mean, it wouldn't affect me. I mean, I can still use my Spark account. But here's the thing. A lot of schools don't have Google Plus turned on in the first place. So it's like, people were using their personal Gmail accounts because that's the only way they could get to Google Plus. Because some schools were like, I don't know if we want to turn on Google Plus. It's more of a social media kind of thing. And I mean, obviously it is, but it's really a very powerful tool for schools as well, for communities and things like that. So I think it's going to catch a lot of people in an odd spot where they aren't going to be able to use their personal Gmail account anymore because Google's shutting that part down. They maybe won't be able to use their school Google account because their school may have never turned on the Google Plus service for their G Suite domain. And in that case, they're kind of stuck. Those folks wouldn't be able to participate. So thankfully, it's 10 months away, 9 or 10 months away. So I guess what I'm saying right now is I'm throwing this out to everybody who's watching this. What are your suggestions? What do you want us to do? Because I think this idea of having something in between the meetings, having a public forum where you can go and ask questions and share resources, I think there's a value to that. I mean, I think, the monthly meetings are great, and this is a wonderful way for us all to kind of touch base and catch up on things and chat, but that's only once a month. All the other times, if you've got questions, if you need to turn somewhere and reach out to people, especially for those who are here in the state of Ohio, and maybe you're wanting to find, hey, I need to find a school that's doing, something specific with Chromebooks, and I'd like to be able to go visit them. So I want to find a school that's not, hours and hours away. I want to find something that's right here locally in Ohio. That's great about having a forum like this to be able to go on and share. So I think what we're going to be doing is looking at options. If it turns out that Google really is going through with this, and I do say that because there's already been a lot of people creating, online, email campaigns to try to let Google know, hey, please don't do this. So we've seen a lot of people starting to ask them to reconsider. Now, that has happened in the past. That they have changed their mind. They've switched back, but I don't know. I'm not sure if they're going to change on this one or not. But if it really does turn out that, yes, Google Plus is going away for consumers and it puts people in a bad spot with their school accounts, we're going to need to figure out some other way to continue this conversation if this is not available to everybody, because I don't want to exclude people. So thoughts might be setting up a Google group. That's certainly a possibility. Google groups have been around forever. Now, they're not as attractive as a Google community, but a Google group can be set up, and anybody is allowed to join a Google group, and that might be a possibility. We could set up a Google group as a forum. But if you guys know other tools that you think would make sense, let me know. I mean, I imagine some people are going to go to Facebook and they're going to set up a Facebook group, and that might become the GEG for their state. There's Edmodo, that's a possibility. I'm sure there's others out there. I guess the key is I don't want to exclude anybody. I just want to make sure anybody who wants to be a part of the group is able to. If you're interested in Google tools for schools, hey, I want you to be able to join, participate, post, share, and learn from each other. So I guess I'm just going to throw that out to you guys who are listening right now. If anybody is aware of something that you think would be a good platform to replace our Google community, if it does turn out, as it appears it probably will, that Google is going to shut down this for the consumers out there. Let me see. Just checking my comments over here, and I don't see anybody specifically replying to that. But anyway, just want to throw that out there, and let me know if you guys end up coming up with some good options there. And hopefully, we'll other GEGs are dealing with the same thing. So maybe as we listen to what other GEGs decide to do, we'll get some other ideas as well. Whatever the case, we've got quite a while before that happens, but we will keep you guys up to date on what impact that might have for our community. I do see a comment in the YouTube chat. Says, did you know if you double right click on a YouTube video, you can drag the video around and go to other tabs? I did not know that. It gives you more options than using the picture-in-picture icon on the bottom. Okay, I think I need to try this out. That is not something I have ever done before. So hold on, let's try this out. Let's go back over to YouTube, and we'll grab a video here. And the instruction is double right click on a YouTube video. I hope I'm going to do that right. And then drag the video around. So maybe you mean right click and hold down. I'm sorry, I'm probably doing it wrong there. Sorry about that. I may be misunderstanding the directions. If I right click, I get this pop up. Well, again, I believe I am probably just misunderstanding the directions there, but the instruction should be that I should be able to drag the video around and go to other tabs, and it's more options than the picture-in-picture. So I will have to double check on that again, because at the moment, either I'm doing that wrong. Oh, I just went full screen. Sorry about that. All right, let's check back on that one. Linda did throw in a comment, which was, how about Slack being an option with the Google integration it has? That's a possibility, Linda. I will happily take a look at Slack as well as something to potentially replace communities if need be. Thank you so much for suggesting that, Linda. All right, well, let's keep on going. What else do we have? And again, we're not going to hit all of these. There's a lot here. Definitely check on the ones that look interesting to you. Something else that jumped out at me, it's just kind of quick and simple, but might as well mention it, is that Google has added a vertical ruler to Google Docs now as well. So if you have not turned on your ruler, there it is. So if you go to View and Show Ruler, we have a ruler across the top. Now down the left-hand side, there's a ruler on the left-hand side as well. So Google has added a vertical ruler to Google Docs. So kind of cool. All right, a couple more here that are a little bit more recent. We'll catch some of these here on the tail end of the updates. Google has launched some, whoops, I think I skipped one of them here. Hang on a second. I feel like I skipped something. Oh, I did. I did not mean to skip this one. I'm sorry. Let me go back just a click here to this accessibility options. I did mean to mention that one. So back on October 2nd. Yep, sorry about that. I did mean to mention this one. Google has added some voice accessibility for Android devices. Now, I know not everybody uses Android devices, but I thought this one was really a neat thing they've done, so I did want to mention this. Sorry about skipping over that. So back on October 2nd, Google has rolled out an Android app called Voice Access, and what it does is if you've got the Android app, you can turn it on, and basically what you can do is just speak and tell the device what you want to do, and without having to use your hands. And it knows a whole bunch of different commands, but then it also does really cool things like it'll put teeny little numbers next to pretty much anything that you normally could click on, and you can just speak the number to click on those things if you're not able to do so physically. So always keeping my eye out for things that help address any accessibility questions and needs. And that one came across my radar at the beginning of October, and I definitely wanted to mention that one. Again, it is, at the moment at least, just an Android app. But if you are using an Android tablet or an Android phone, I would be curious to see if it, I don't know if it would work on a Chromebook that runs Android apps. It may not have quite that integration, but for definitely anything that is an Android device, that is a great accessibility tool they have rolled out. All right, let's get back to the bottom here. I said there was a couple others that I did want to mention. I think it was because this one is about accessibility as well. That's what reminded me of it. Google has launched some accessibility experiments. Now, this is really, really cool. So basically what Google has done is they have created some Chrome experiments, they call them, that deal with artificial intelligence, but also deal with accessibility. And this new batch of these can be found at their website called Creatability. And the link, if you follow the first link to the blog post and then scroll down, you'll see there's the link to their Creatability website. And what you can do is you can go in and you can launch any of these different experiments. And basically what they do is, again, it's about allowing you to interact with your computer without actually touching your computer. It's to be able to use your face or to move your arm and interact with the computer. And so what they've done is they've created these experiments, including like playing a musical keyboard. So you can, for example, tell it to focus on your nose. And then as you move, your head, left and right, you can play up and down a musical keyboard. There's other ones where they've got musical items around on the screen. And as you move your head or move your arm, you can hit each of them and play them. There's even the ability to draw on the screen using your face or using your body. And they've got a couple examples here where down here, there's the one where they're drawing just by moving your head around. Now, I've tried it. it's challenging. You got to kind of get used to it. And there are some settings you can adjust as to like, if you tell it to use your nose, you might have to have it kind of recenter on you and tell it to figure out where your nose is. But once it has done that, you can then go ahead and also adjust how sensitive it is. So if you move to the left or right, is it a big move or is it a little move? And after you do that a little bit, you actually do start to become a little bit better at controlling either the drawing or playing of the instruments. I just think it's really cool because basically we've got a neat intersection of things. First of all, we got AI, because this is artificial intelligence. It's using machine learning to figure out where is your face, where is your nose, where is your hand. And that's wonderful that it's being able to see you and figure out how you're moving. But then it's combining it with the whole accessibility conversation about sometimes, for a myriad of reasons, we may not be able to physically interact with our computer. And these are just some really neat experiments into saying, what options do we have? What ways might we be able to interact with the computer by not touching it, but by instead, moving our head or moving our arms. So check those out. You can launch up any one of these and take them for a spin and try them out. And again, they are just experiments. So it's not that these are an end in themselves. It's not like, oh, now here's this tool that is what you would use day in and day out. This is more of them trying these things out and seeing how they work. But my guess is we're going to see this stuff work its way into the regular products eventually. So, there may come a day when just built into the Chrome browser are these accessibility options where you'll be able to, again, have it tracking your head movements or so forth. So right now, these are just some of the early experiments with that. So pretty nifty. All right. Let's see. Another comment over here. We have to be using Chrome version 70 to be able to do the YouTube option. And I don't know. I don't know if I've updated if my Chrome has rolled over to 70 yet or not. Thanks. Okay. And you say you put an info card at the bottom of the Google Doc to explain the detail. Oh, thank you. There we go. So Chrome 70 brings picture-in-picture mode to desktop. Awesome. Well, very good. Thank you. I may not have rolled up to 70 yet. I'll have to check and see. But perfect. There we go. Now we've all got the details on how that works. Thank you so very much. That is fantastic. Awesome. And Joyce says, on the mobile app for Classroom, wondering why they can't see the option for the student selector. Joyce, I don't know. I have tried it on my phone and it worked well for me. I don't know if could it just be Android? Are you on an iPhone? I wonder if it's something that only has rolled out for Android so far and maybe hasn't made its way out to iOS. I am not sure, but it's been out for a couple of weeks now for sure on Android. So that would be my question for you, Joyce, is just double check if you've got an iPhone or an Android phone. We're on an iPad. Okay. So it may not, I don't know. Maybe it hasn't rolled out to iOS yet. Have to double check on that one. I'm not sure. Good question. All right, next up. Let's see. Google launches some new domains, the .new domains, to quickly create new files. So this happens to all of us. Let's say you want to create a Google Doc and you just need to quickly make a Google document. Well, in the past, of course, we'd have to open up Google Drive, and then once Google Drive opens, click the new button, and then from the new button, go down and choose document. Not a big deal. I mean, that's not like terribly difficult, but it could take a little bit of time. I mean, I don't know about you. Sometimes when I go to open up my Google Drive, it can take a little while for it to get to the spot that I can click on the new button. Well, now what you can do is you can simply type something like docs.new, like it's a web address, and or sheets.new, and that will generate a new document, or slide.new, a new slideshow. So if I open up a new tab here and I just type docs.new, like it's the address, like it's a .com, it's .new, just doing that, boom, makes a new document. Or slide.new or sheets.new will generate a new slideshow or a new spreadsheet. So that is really just a nice, quick little time saver. Be aware that that is available now. And I've actually used it a couple of times since, because it can be quicker than waiting for my drive to load and hitting on the new button. And my guess is we could probably just bookmark that as well. If it's just a web address, we should be able to, create custom bookmarks that would go to docs.new and so forth. And then right from my bookmarks bar, I could just check that. Now, I know there's also extensions that do this. There is a quick docs type extension. I forget the name of it right now, but you can click on it and you can generate a new document, sheet, or slideshow as well. But just heads up. All right. Next up, a little bit of a facelift to the activity dashboard coming soon. I don't know if you guys have used this much yet or not, but Docs, Sheets, and Slides have had for a little while the activity dashboard, where if you go up to Tools and you go down to Activity Dashboard, it'll show you who has been in that file, who's been making updates to the file, who's been making changes to the file. And all they're basically saying is they're going to give a new look to that. It has not rolled out for me yet. I still have the older version of it, but the new version is going to have down the left-hand side some easy menus to click on to bring up, showing you who has viewed your document and how the views have changed over time versus the old version. So not a big deal, not a real big change, just a little bit cleaner interface. More than anything, I just want to remind you that it exists, because sometimes we forget about that. We forget the activity dashboard has been around for a little while now as a way to see who has been accessing a Google Doc or sheet or slideshow. And the very last new thing that I have for you guys before we head into Q&A and show and tell is something that just came out last night, or at least got announced last night, and that is the ability to create your own emoji minis, kind of like if you use Bitmoji, which I had never used before. Just in the last few weeks, I finally did create a Bitmoji, because I was at a conference where they had asked us to all share a Bitmoji. And so I finally did create a Bitmoji. If you like Bitmojis, you might like this. If you have never used Bitmojis, maybe this is a good time to jump into this sort of thing. But here's the idea. If you're using Gboard, now what is Gboard? Gboard is Google's keyboard app for your mobile device. And so, you can pick all kinds. There's tons of different keyboard options for phones. This does work on both iOS and Android, but there's lots of different keyboards you can choose. There's one that's going to come with your device, but you can also install the Gboard app, and then you can use that as your keyboard. I do use Gboard. That's the one I use when I'm on my phone. But here's basically the way it works. What you can do now is, if you fire up Gboard by just opening up, like you're going to do a text or something like that, you can now click down on the emoji button, or I guess it's the sticker button. Go down and click on the sticker button in Gboard. And when you click on the little sticker button, there's now the option to launch this new tool and this little animated GIF is showing is that. So it looks like this, the little tool there. And then basically what it does is it uses the camera and you look, you get your face centered on there. And then what Google does is, again, it uses AI to look at your face and try to create a little emoji version of you. And of course, you can customize it. I did this last night with mine, and it was pretty good. It did a pretty decent job of figuring out what I probably should look like as a cartoon. And I went in and tweaked it a little bit, changed the hair color a little bit, stuff like that. But once it's all done, you will now have your own custom emoji of you, so that if you're using a Gboard to send a text or to post something online while you're on your phone, you can now click and scroll through all of these. And it doesn't just make one. It makes like it figures out what your face is, but then what it gives you is just like Bitmoji. It gives you like dozens and dozens and dozens of variations of that. I know this GIF is going by really, really fast, but what you'll see is when she chooses one, she gets all of these different options. So there'll be like ones that are Halloween themed and Thanksgiving themed, and then all sorts of other ones. So just another neat way to personalize your communication, very similar to what Bitmoji does, but with the added ability of doing the quick little camera view of you, and then Google's AI trying to make a emoji that matches you. So heads up on that. Pretty cool stuff. Awesome. All right. So that's all of the what's new in Google. Now, there's a lot more in there, so please do feel free to go back through this and check on any of those resource links that I did not cover. I just picked out some that I thought had really jumped out to me. If you guys have any questions on any of those, please let me know. If there's something I didn't go over that you think we should throw out there for discussion, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and move into our next stuff. Oh, yes, the question that keeps coming back over and over and over again. Okay, so the Q&A section. Let's go ahead and move on to Q&A. So Q&A is a spot where you can ask questions, and if anybody in the group here has any ideas to share, please do. I'll share what I can, but you guys can type in here as well and share your info. So the question is, do we have any update on the ability to lock down Google Forms? So if you're not familiar with what that's all about, Google announced this back with the ISTE conference, so late June, early July. They announced that this year, that soon, as they said, you would have the ability in a Google form, if it's like a quiz, like you're creating a Google form assessment, you would have the ability to turn on like locked mode. So when a student would go to take the quiz, now this would only work on a Chromebook because that way they've got the ability to make this happen. But if you put the form into locked mode when a student takes the quiz on a Chromebook, they wouldn't be able to browse outside of that form. They would basically be locked into it. So it's like the secure browser with the air test and things like that. And people were very excited about this. It's a great way to help make sure that students aren't going out and, looking up information and coming back if you're wanting them not to do that. Now, there's times where maybe that's part of the assessment. It's fine. But I say most of the time, folks are expecting, if you're going to be taking a quick assessment online, you're wanting the students just to fill out that assessment and not be jumping onto other websites in the meantime to look up answers or do whatever else. So the short answer is no, I don't have an update on that. The last thing I heard was, I think I shared this last month, so I'm sorry that there's not really an update. It's been a whole month and there hasn't really been an update. The last thing I heard was one of the folks from Google had been in a hangout with North. We were doing a hangout with North, and one of the folks from Google was on that and had mentioned that, yep, it's still coming, don't panic, it's on its way, and that the problem had been something to do with there was a conflict with it working in the current version of Chrome. And so it really had to do something with the next, hopefully the next version of Chrome, that when it would roll out, that it would have the tweaks done to it to support this. That was sort of the issue. Chrome OS, so like the Chrome OS on the Chromebooks. I haven't paid attention. I think the last I remembered we were on like version 69 of Chrome OS, but now it sounds like 70 at least has rolled out for the desktop, for the browser. I don't know if 70 has rolled out for Chrome OS yet. I think that's what we need to look at and see, is hopefully it's going to be timed with the release of the new version of Chrome OS. So I am sorry, I don't have anything new at all on that. My only understanding was that was the issue. They were having a problem with getting it to work exactly the way they wanted, and so they were going to couple its release with an update to, the Chrome OS version. So we'll keep an eye on it. I'm hoping any day now we'll get a little bit more details on that. Good question, though. Thanks. All right, let's take a quick look at show and tell. So show and tell is the part of the meeting where we share cool things we've come across in the last month. And again, please do come down here and feel free to add in something. So if you get here and you've got something to add, just throw this in down here. If it's a blog post you've come across or a neat new tool or so forth. Again, I'm not going to go through everything here. I will hit quite a few of these, but I won't go through every one of them. I would definitely encourage you to click on the resource links, though, and check these out if something here catches your attention. All right, so first, couple of quick things from my blog. So I do the Control-Alt-Achieve blog where I put all of my resources. I did a couple of posts this last month, and I'll go ahead and highlight those real quick. One of my most recent ones was a fun way to use Google Sheets. And I love Google Sheets. I think many of you guys know that. I always defer to Anthony, my partner in crime from the past, Anthony Luscre, as the definite Google Sheet guru, but I have a very a soft spot in my heart for Sheets as well, and always wanting to come up with fun, creative ways to use Google Sheets that isn't just crunching numbers. Now, it's fantastic for doing that. It's great for taking data and analyzing it. Please do that with it. But I always love to find what are some other ways we could use Google Sheets. And this is one I've been meaning to do for a long time. It was kind of in my queue of ideas. And I finally am like, hey, I just got to get that out there. And it's the idea of creating what's called Mondrian art. So you might not know, I really didn't before I started poking a stick at this, what Mondrian art was, but I had seen this style of art a lot. And it comes from a Dutch artist, Piet Mondrian, back in the early 1900s, where he was focusing on some abstract art and basically ended up coming up with this style where you make art out of rectangles and primary colors and a lot of white space and things like that. And this has affected all kinds of stuff, design and architecture and fashion and so forth. And I thought, that would fit a spreadsheet so perfectly because it's just rectangles that you're coloring in. And so what I did was I went ahead and threw a few videos in here if you want to learn about Mondrian art, but I went ahead and created a template. And it's very simple. I mean, you don't need the template to do this, but the template saves you a little bit of time. And basically, I made a template where what I've done is, and there's directions here you can follow, but what I've done is I've created this spreadsheet that's had a couple of things done to it. First of all, I've changed all of the rows and columns to be exactly square, because if we're going to start creating rectangles, we want to be working from nice, even, consistent squares. And then I also made thicker lines between all of the different cells, because that's kind of the way Mondrian art typically looks. It's got these darker, thicker lines between the cells. And then that's it. Once you get that, I do have some directions here on how to merge your cells and start creating your art. So basically, it's a matter of coming in, clicking in a cell, holding down your mouse, dragging out to select a bunch of cells at once. And once you've got them selected, going up to the Merge Cells button, which is up in your top toolbar, and boom, it'll merge those cells together. And then you can keep doing that and merging cells until you make your design. And so that's what the little GIF shows there as you're creating all your merged cells. And then after you merge all of them, then you just use the paint can button, the fill color button, to start dropping in colors into those in places that make sense. Now, if you're using the template, I did in the little paint can button, I did include some custom colors. What I did was I took some screenshots of some of the better known Mondrian art pieces that he had made. And I actually grabbed the colors he used out of those. So if you want it to be as close as possible to the type of things that Mondrian did himself, you can use those colors, but obviously you don't have to. You can use, any colors you want there using the paint can button to start then filling in your shapes. And then when it's all done, talked about deleting off any unused rows or columns, and then boom, there you go. You've created a piece of Mondrian art. And at the end of the blog post, I talk about ways to print that out or make it into a PDF or use a screen capture tool to grab a screenshot of your art. And as much as this could just be for creativity or for an art class, that would be fantastic. It could definitely have some math applications as well. If you wanted to talk about area, it's a great way to talk about square units or fractions, talk about the different, fractions that each color represents. So anyway, been meaning to share that one for a while and finally got around to doing it. So definitely check that out. Have some fun with creating Mondrian art. Next up, now this one, 360-degree learning with Google Tour Creator is another one that I've been meaning to tackle for a while, and finally did take care of that this last month. Tour Creator is a really nifty tool from Google that came out, I don't know, within the last year, maybe 6 months ago or so. And basically, Tour Creator is a tool that lets you build sort of like expeditions. So if you're used to Google Expeditions, it's basically like that. The idea is what you can do with Tour Creator is you can put together 360-degree photos to create a tour, much like Google Expeditions does. And you can do it a number of different ways. So if you don't have a 360-degree camera, that's okay. From Tour Creator, you can use Google Street View. So basically, you can find any place on the earth that Google Street View cars have gone, or the people with their Street View backpacks have, hiked up in the mountains. Any place where Google has 360-degree photos, you can use what's already created. So you don't even have to have your own camera. Students could just pick locations from all around the world and grab the street view images from those. Having said that, you can also use a 360-degree camera. Like there's bunches of different ones. I did get a Samsung Gear 360. That's the one that I used. It's more of the entry-level ones. I think the Ricoh Thetas are a lot more popular, but they're more expensive too. You do that. Or there's also an app called Cardboard Camera, which you can use on Android or iOS. And basically, it lets you just use your phone and you just click the little button here to take a picture, and it has you spin in a circle very slowly, but it has you turn in a circle, and Cardboard Camera will record a 360-degree photo for you. And so you can use any of those. You can use Street View photos. You can use a 360 picture from an actual 360 camera, or you can just use Cardboard Camera, that app on your phone, and you can just spin in a circle. And so one way or the other, there's lots of options for students to get these photos. And then once you have all of the photos, you can basically put them together and create an actual tour where you keep adding scenes, putting one photo after another, one 360 after another. For each of the locations, you can add a description. You can also add voice narration, which is really cool. So it doesn't let you record inside of the tool, but you can add a MP3. So you can use a tool like onlinevoicerecorder.com or Twisted Wave, or whatever you want to do to record your voice. These are free and they work on a Chromebook, so that's why I listed those. You can record your voice, and then you can add your own voice narration to each of the scenes. So just like Expeditions, when somebody goes to play this, they'll hear you talking, describing the scene. You can also add what's called points of interest. So you can drop these points of interest anywhere on the scene. And then when people click on that, they can get more details. You can also do image overlays that pop up. So when you click on something, it'll pop up an image overlay to give additional information. And then when you're all done, you publish the tour. It can be public for anybody or it can be unlisted. So you just give them the link and that's it. At that point, people can now play your tour. And when they go to play it, they can do it right there in the web browser. Or they can do it on their phone, or they can drop their phone into Google Cardboard, or they can use another VR headset, lots and lots of different ways. So I did go ahead and build a sample one here that's in the blog post. Recently, we moved into some new offices at Spark, and so I made a tour showing people how to get to our new location. So this is the end result of it, and so I used Google Street View to grab a picture of our old location. So that's where we used to be. And then I used Google Street View to grab this one too. I did not stand in the middle of an intersection to take a picture. That would not have been smart. This is also Google Street View. So I used Google Street View to grab this picture of the new intersection for to get into our new location. And by the way, in the bottom left-hand corner, if you click, you can get all of your description about that as well. And then here's a point of interest. If you click on, it just gives you a little pop-up map showing how to get into the new location. And then basically after that, I started using my actual 360 camera. So I used my Samsung Gear 360 to take a picture in front of the building, and then took a picture inside of the reception area when you first come in. And again, I used a bunch of points of interest, like saying, here's the stairs where you go up to get to our offices. And then next you go upstairs, then you go over to the reception desk, then you go down the hall, and here's our training rooms, and so forth. So, and by the way, I did do the voice narration as well. I don't know that would come through here, but if you go up to the top right corner, there's a gear. And if you click on that, you can turn on the voice narration. You can hear me talking and explaining these. Another cool thing you can do is you can also add ambient audio. So like if you were doing something that was in the jungle, you could add, jungle sounds. I did this for the second one. So if you do ever play this one and you come here to the second scene where it's the little intersection, and if you say turn on ambient audio, I actually have the sound of traffic, so you can hear cars and stuff. So you can really make this immersive experience where you've got these 360 photos, you've got voice narration, you've got ambient audio. It's just really, really cool. So it's another great way for students to share their learning. If you've used Google Tour Builder, a lot of the same ideas would transfer over to this. So Tour Builder and Tour Creator, the big difference, this is all 360 degree photos, where Tour Builder is not set up that way. But the same ideas, this could be great for students to do a lit trip where they take a novel and they visit each location where the novel took place, and then add, annotations and information to that location. It could be for science class to go to different biomes of the world. It could be social studies class to go along the Lewis and Clark expedition trail. A lot of possibilities. Now this is the example I made, but if you look below there, there's a link to a whole bunch of tours at poly.google.com/tours. And you can see lots and lots and lots of other tours that people have created. Civil rights events, Gettysburg tour, East Germany, Harriet Tubman, lots and lots and lots of tours that people have created and shared. And this is what's really exciting is, there's a lot of expeditions, but now that this has been turned loose, people all over, educators, students, anybody around the world can now start creating these tours. And we're going to have this, hopefully, this explosion of great content that is this VR 360 degree content that anybody will be able to access. So if that is something that excites you, I would encourage you to check out that blog post that I did on 360 learning with Google Tour Creator. If you have any questions, let me know on that. Did I do a quick blog post on a podcast that I recently had the privilege to be a guest on called the Edufuturists. If you're like me and you're always looking for another podcast to add to your list, here's one more. I would encourage you to check out. What I want to say about this one, Ben and Dan, the guys that do this, they do it once a week, comes out every Sunday night. And what's cool is it's only 15 minutes long. And, there's something to be said for that. I mean, I love long podcasts, don't get me wrong, but there's something to be said for knowing that this is it. It's a 15-minute podcast, and boom, you're just going to be able to listen to it and get the information. They interview one new person each week. And of course, I play all my podcasts on fast speed. So for me, it's like a 10-minute podcast. But they do a great job. So if you're looking for something new to add to your list of podcasts, and for what it's worth, I do know I have a bit of a podcast problem. I subscribe to a few too many. Recently, I was chatting with somebody at the OELMA conference, and they told me about a podcast, and I went to add it to my list, and it officially brought me up to 200 subscribed podcasts. No, I don't listen to all of those, but I am subscribed to 200 podcasts at the moment. So this is just one of the many. So heads up on that. Next up, I did a quick blog post on turning Google Slides into an animated GIF with a free tool. So if you have ever wanted to make animated GIFs, there's loads of tools for that. There's lots and lots of ways to do it. This is a pretty clever one if you want to do this with Google Slides. So if you have a Google slideshow and you want to turn it into an animated GIF, there is a tool called Tall Tweets. Now, it's kind of an odd name for it, but there's this website called Tall Tweets. And basically what you can do is head over to the Tall Tweets site, sign in with Google. Go ahead and sign in here with my account. And then once I get signed in, what I can do is I can grab a slideshow from my drive. So I would come here and find, probably grab one of these recent ones, probably the one on 360 Learning. Sure, we'll just grab that one. That's fine. And then what it's going to do is import that slideshow. And then once it's done, what I can do is I can now tell it to make a GIF, an animated GIF out of that slideshow. I can set the width, I can set the duration, how many seconds should be in between each frame. If you want for more an advanced thing, you can even put in the sequence of the slides by putting in the numbers, like, 1, 2, 3. But if you wanted to skip something like, 1, 2, 4, you could tell it to skip slide 3. Or if you wanted it to repeat a slide a bunch of times, like you could do 5, 5, 5, 5, and that makes that slide last longer. So that would be another way to accomplish that. You certainly don't have to. You can just put in the width and put in the duration, how much time you want in between each slide. And then that's it. It goes ahead and generates an animated GIF. So that was a pretty big slideshow. Maybe I should have picked a smaller one. I picked a pretty big one there for it to load in. But that's the idea. Once you have grabbed your slideshow and you've set the width and the duration, you let it crank away in the background. And I actually did that with a couple of my slides from the past. I used one of my stop motion animation slideshows here on how to find the area of an irregular shape. And I let it process that and turn it into a GIF. And then I also used something from my webinar on creating ebooks. And I took one of my little cute ebooks there and turned it into an animated GIF. So when it's all done, you just got a regular old animated GIF, and that's it. You can now take that GIF and post it wherever you want to, share it however you might like. So I think that would work really well, especially for things like stop motion animation and ebooks and things like that. So heads up, Tall Tweets is the name of the site. And again, I think I made it mad probably by grabbing the one I did, but that's okay. The only limit is I think you can only do up to 100 slides. That's right. There's a limit of 100 slides. So if your slide deck is longer than that, you'll need to select just certain slides, or it's going to stop after the first 100 that it processes. So heads up on that. Awesome. And then the last thing in my latest updates, I think I might have mentioned this last month. If not, just throw it out there again. I did do for the Halloween season a blog post on using Google Docs to create Halloween rebus stories using emojis in Google Docs. I've got a similar one for Christmas time. I've got a winter themed one, and I think I've got one for Valentine's Day as well, I believe, that I've done in the past. Yes, I did. Wintertime and Valentine's Day. This one is for Halloween. So I know this is the last day for Halloween, but at least be aware of this so that, if you didn't take advantage of it this year, you can pull it up next year. And the idea is students would use this template to write a story, but it would be a rebus story. And again, a rebus story is one where you are combining words with images. And so this can just be a really fun way for kids to write a story. If they, maybe don't know how to spell all the words, they don't have to worry about that. They can just use the pictures, or if they just want to create one and have it be a fun story that includes these emoji images in there. So heads up on that. Now that's all of my stuff from Control Alt Achieve. There's a couple other things in the show and tell that had jumped out at me, and I just want to at least draw them to your attention. Make sure you are aware of some of these other things that people shared this last month. Google had its 20th birthday. So Google, the company, is 20 years old, and they shared a whole bunch of 20-year anniversary type posts. I did not include all of them here, but here's 4 of them that had jumped out at me. This is a cool one with you can go and do a VR like 360-degree exploration of the original garage that Google started in. I thought that was kind of cool. But these other ones here are neat, where basically what's happening is they're listing like 20 best this or so forth. Like here's one where it's tips from Google's product developers. And there's just some really neat tips. They've got like 20 maybe lesser known tips about using Google tools. Now, I did know a lot of these, but you may pick up some that's like, I didn't know you could do that. So they just got these sort of like cool back in tips and tricks on searching, using Maps, YouTube, Gmail, Google Drive, Android, Play, Chrome, and so forth. Like, for example, did you know in Google Chrome, you can right-click on any text field and it will give you an option to pull up an emoji window to insert emojis. So for example, if I'm running a search here and I right-click in this box and I choose emoji, boom, there's my emoji window, and I can come in here and go through all of these different emojis that I want to insert. So it's just, little tips and tricks like that you might not have been aware of. Same thing for this next one, 20 things you didn't know you could do with search and 20 treasures from Google's arts and culture. So I would encourage you to check those out. Again, it's 20 for each one of them, and it's from Google. These are all from Google to celebrate their 20th birthday. And you might pick up some neat new tips and tricks that you were not aware of by looking at those. Let's keep going. What else did I want to draw your attention to? This one on 17 reasons to use Google Keep in your classroom. I love Google Keep, and if you haven't taken advantage of it yet, Kevin Zahner does a great job of listing 17 different ways that Google Keep can be used in an educational setting. So if you still haven't played with Google Keep, now you've got a really good reason to dig into it a little bit more. Other ones that I wanted to mention, we have 2 from Amy Roninger, and Amy shared, let me see which ones were Amy's. She shared this one here about sharing your class Google calendars with parents. Amy does the blog, A Lever and a Place to Stand. And this post, I think, is really valuable. It's not, it's something that, it's not like a new thing. We've been able to do this for a long time, but I think sometimes people get confused on how to set this up properly. And here's basically what it comes down to. If you are using, for example, Google Classroom, and it creates a calendar for your classes, or if you're not using Google Classroom and you've just created a calendar for your class, what if you want to make sure your parents, the parents of your students, are able to access the calendar? Amy does a great job of going through step by step explaining how you can set up a calendar that's just for your class, or if you're using Google Classroom, that's fine too. How can you access that calendar settings and make sure it is properly visible for parents? How do you make sure it's shared with the public, and how do you get the link, and how do you make that link available to your parents? That way the parents of students would be able to follow along with, what's coming up due and so forth. So I think that's just a very valuable thing to remind people of. And then she did another really nice post here, which was about a new Flippity template. Now, Flippity, love Flippity. I've talked about it a whole bunch. There's so many cool things you can do with it. They recently rolled out another new Flippity template, and this one is for what they're calling a scavenger hunt. Now, if for any reason you're not familiar with Flippity yet, basically it's a website that gives you templates that work in Google Sheets. So that's the Google connection. So basically you come here to Flippity and say, hey, I want to make flashcards, or I want to make a Jeopardy game, or I want to make a random name picker. And basically what you can do is you can click on the template link and it will give you a Google Sheets template. So like for the flashcards, if I click template, it'll say, hey, do you want a copy of this template? And it makes a Google Sheets copy. Whoop, Google hears me in the background. Yes, I have to be careful what if I say certain words. I trigger my, my Google Assistant back there. But what it'll do is it'll give you a template, and then you can get rid of the stuff that's in the template and fill in your own information. And then with that, you can then generate, you can go to the tab that says, here's the link. You can generate your own interactive flashcards, your own interactive Jeopardy game, your own interactive name picker. Well, the key is she has mentioned that there is a new one, which is Flippity Scavenger Hunt. And so what this is, it's kind of like a version of Breakout EDU, where students are trying to solve puzzles and then, you know, unlock the locks. So if you've wanted to do a digital Breakout EDU and you've been a little intimidated by setting all of that up, this template, if you download the template, allows you to create puzzles, basically, or questions that the kids need to solve. And as they solve them, they can start unlocking these different locks. So if I come in and click on it, it'll pop up whatever that puzzle is. And that puzzle can be just a question. It can be a link out to a Google document or a drawing or a form or a web page. You can make it as complicated or sophisticated as you want. So like this one's just a question, says what has keys but no locks, space but no room, and you can enter but you can't exit. Well, talking about a keyboard there. So in this case, we would just type in keyboard and check to see if we got that right. And we did, and it unlocked that first lock. That's just the demo one there. But what you can do is you can come in and you can grab the template and it will make a copy of that template for you. And then you can set up your own scavenger hunt or, you know, breakout EDU, so to speak. And so here's where you put in all your clues, your hints, your answers, and then there's an options tab. You can go in to change some of the options, and then you can get the link to play your game from there. So thank you, Amy, for catching that was out there and for sharing that with us. All right, last couple of things to mention. This one I just saw today, and it is a clever way to print multiple Google Docs at once. So this is a question that I'm sure comes up every now and then, where you've got a folder filled with Google Docs. Maybe it's a Google Classroom assignment and all 25 of your kids have turned in a document. And you want to, for some reason, print them out. Certainly it's great to stay digital, but there's times when you do need to print something out. Well, as it is right now, you pretty much have to open every one at a time and print each individual document. That is still the default case. Well, Jeremy came up with a nifty solution to this, a nifty workaround, and that is to use a site called PDF Mergy. So PDF Mergy basically allows you to log in with your Google account and then select files from your Google Drive. So I can come here to PDF Mergy, say I want to select files from my drive, and then I can go in, let's go to my classroom, just search for my classroom folder here, and grab one of my here's classroom, grab my classroom folder, and then let's say I go in and I grab, we'll grab one of our boot camps from the past, and we'll grab one of our math vocab sheets here. That's fine. We'll use that one. And what I can do is I can come in and I can select all of my students' documents in that folder, click select. It'll grab all of those documents, pull them all together. And then after it pulls them all together, I can hit merge. And now it's going to take all of those individual Google documents and merge them together into one PDF. And then all I have to do is open up that PDF, hit print, boom, and there we go. I can print them all out at once. So yeah, there's a little bit of time. It's going to take a little while to merge that, but compared to one by one opening all 20 or 25 or 30 or however many it is and printing them one at a time and going through that same process over and over again, this is a nice workaround until we get something built into Drive that lets us do that. This is a pretty clever workaround for that. So thanks to Jeremy Batinger for sharing that. The thing that I mentioned at the beginning here about you guys adding resources. Thank you for doing that. I did not put this one in, so this is from somebody else. They said, check out Ocali's new webinars on universal design for learning. And thank you so much for sharing that. So it looks like there's a whole bunch of awesome webinars that Ocali has put out on UDL. And there's a link to get you to all of those in the agenda. And then below there is the info on doing the picture-in-picture mode in Chrome 70. Awesome. All right. Well, let's go ahead and scroll back up and see if we have missed anything. I don't think so. I'm going to give you guys one last chance. If you've got anything to add to the agenda, I just want to make sure I didn't miss if anybody added something else to Q&A or show and tell. If you have anything else, please feel free to go ahead and throw stuff in as a comment or into the document. And we can still have a moment to catch those. But as we start to wrap up, I again want to thank everybody so very much for taking some time out of your day to join us live, or if you're watching this recorded later, thanks so much for doing so. Just want to remind you that everything can be found at our GEG Ohio website, which is at bit.ly/GEG Ohio. Once you get out to the GEG Ohio website, from there you can choose monthly meetings, and that will allow you to see any of our past meetings as well as our upcoming meetings. For each meeting, there is a link for the video. So this live video will become the recorded video later, so you can watch it later. If somebody couldn't attend today, you can send them the link and they can watch the video afterwards. And of course, the agenda is linked in there as well. Keep an eye on upcoming meetings. Sometimes these change, so always check. We might end up getting a conflict here and there, and I have to bump these around to a different time or a different day. But at the moment, that is our list of the ones we are planning on having in the near future. If you joined us late and missed my quick comment about signing in, just a quick reminder that on page 2 of the agenda, there's a spot where it says Google User Group sign-in form to get certificates of attendance. If you haven't yet, take a moment to go to that link, and that will open up a Google form that you can sign in. So whether you watch this live or if you watch the recording later, either way, we would love for you to sign in so we have a record of you being a part of the meeting, and I can generate a certificate of attendance to send to you for the meeting as well. Other than that, thank you guys again so very much for being here today. It is always a pleasure to get a chance to connect with you. In the future, if you would like to be in the Hangout with me rather than just chatting in the document, just drop me an email and let me know. And I'd love to have you on to take a few minutes and share something neat that you're doing in your school district, or demonstrate some neat new tip or trick or tool you've come across. Other than that, you guys have a fantastic day. Thanks so much, and talk to you all again soon. Take care.